Okay, good. Now, Minister, we have to go to the lines and to hear from the people. Of course, many people each week look forward to calling into this show and to share their views, to ask their questions, to make their comments, and so on. But this program is designed basically to hear from the people. And so we are going to open the lines. And the numbers to call, the local number is 465-2555. That's the local number, 465-2555. And the overseas number is 1-718-577-2916. 1-718-577-2916. We welcome your call.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Working for you.
Host and the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister. Education, two things. You mentioned that there won't be an installation of a principal at the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant until sometime during the upcoming semester. Is there in place an acting principal for that institution so that things can go along smoothly? That's one. And in the other situation, the new Bastia High School, yes, you have not fully identified or selected a site as well, but can you tell us about some of the facilities that you anticipate will be in this new Bastia High School as against what was in the old one and what is presently in current secondary schools? Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Working for you, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Williams, and good afternoon, the Honorable Sean Richard.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
And good afternoon to the listening public home and abroad. Honorable Sean Richard, just outside Sandy Point, there is a project on the upper side of the Cameron 3D. The folks there have been crying out for the railroad and drainage. Can you tell us when there's any plans to give those people the roads and the drain? The other question is, many years ago when I was living in Sandy Point for at least 14 years, we had a custom down at the pump. We had the custom house there, and we had a pier where the customs used to do the custom work by any boat coming from the neighboring island. That pier was destroyed by a hurricane, and the custom place here seems to be abandoned. Is there any plan to put back the custom thing, building there and a pier there? Because, there is lots of complaints where people do their illegal stuff because there is no custom and security areas there. The Sandy Point Police, they do a bit, but they need some help. Yeah, and the other thing, I must say thanks to our unity government for putting forward some of the things that they have promised. And guys, you're not going to slow. You're being cautious, you're being forthright, very careful, because everybody's into suing the government these days. So you all have to be very careful, very forthright, and right and talk. And it's better to be slow and sure than to be fast and have to pay out hundreds of thousands and millions. So guys, take your all time. You're doing a decent job so far. Thanks.
Thank you, Carl. Working for you, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Williams.
Good afternoon, sir.
And good afternoon to the Honorable Deputy P.
Good afternoon.
Now, the banding around with the Bastia High School, with the opposition, you know that the school was the game problem under the farmer administration, and we speak out about it. The children, they were getting sick, and whatever teachers were getting sick, and the government changed. And I'm agree that you all try very hard to build something temporary, but you all say you all going to do when you do it, and the children them going and ain't sick anymore, and we're glad for that. And your boss, the high school. Now, And that you also that you got some land, like, available for build the school, but you all don't know which one the land to use yet, which one the location to use. But me idea, I think that you all should revamp that Basti High School up there, break it down, demolish it, bring in some export, test the soil, and I think that that same piece of land there can build back in your Basti High School. You all bring in some export. They're going to talk about it, but listen, let me tell you something. They ain't going in the same building. It's a different building because I believe that the problem was the old structure at the school. And I would like to see something done, to be truthful, to get in on your school. Without that you can't, you all in Howley do nothing. Because Carter can't broke ground. You all go in there and you all meet things that we're supposed to be. And you all train very hard as a unity government. And we're so proud of you. And Mr. Deputy Prime Minister, we want to thank you for this CPL. Come off successful. Should you win the semi-final and get the support you're supposed to get. But everything come on good with the final. And we want to big up all the athletics who they represent St. Kitts Nevis. We just want to big up them up. I hear Kim Collins and that's so good. We want him to do well. And we want to big up all those who supporting and behind the athlete of St. Kitts Nevis. Not only Kim Collins. Because we want everyone to go and do well. Because when they go and do well, St. Kitts get big up from them. You have a wonderful day. God bless you.
Thank you. Walking for you, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. William, and good afternoon, Deputy Prime Minister, and good afternoon to the listeners via radio and internet of ZIZ. Now, good to you, my Deputy Prime Minister, I would like to ask you. There was a town meeting in Newtown about a few weeks ago, and there was two questions pertaining to the front table, and I realized the front table didn't answer the two questions. One about centralization of power, and the other is about the legalization of herb discussion in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. I would like to know what your take on it as a Deputy Prime Minister to do those two questions.
Okay. Thank you, caller. We are going to have the Minister answer those callers with their questions.
Hello?
Let's just take one more question before we have the Minister respond. Good afternoon. Working for you.
Yes. Good afternoon, Mr. Williams. Good afternoon, the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister.
Good afternoon, sir.
Now, Mr. Williams, I have no question to the but I want to commend you, Mr. Williams.
Thank you.
You have been doing a wonderful job as the host of this program. And I'm glad that you ain't putting anything on the Facebook for people to get information on Facebook, because I don't have no Facebook. And nobody in the infirmary have any Facebook.
Right.
Speaking from your mouth and hearing it on the radio, you reach a wider audience of people, listeners, and people who have concern. And, Mr. Minister, I want to congratulate you and commend you. The way you answered the questions that was asked by Mr. Williams, you have done superbly well. And I like what you said. The government is pursuing all the promises that was made by them. We have 5 years to fulfill the promises. And you all are going slow but sure. And when I say slow, I don't mean lazy slow. What you call precaution slow. And it's better to go slow and sure than to go fast and to be unsure. Now, Mr. Minister, you all government are going well, and people will say all manner of evil because they're not in there and they wanted to get back in there. And I know for sure that those who are criticizing the government, they fully well know how it is and how it was when some of them were there. So you know how you all have to take them out. Once you're doing good and what is right, you don't worry behind what come behind your shoulder. Keep up your chest high and your head high. The government is going good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Minister?
Yes, to respond to all of the callers, and I say thanks to the callers for calling in and expressing their own concerns on a variety of different issues. To our first caller, which asked about who governs in the absence of a president at CFBC, the Act which established CFBC is very clear about that. The Act indicates that in the absence of the president, the vice president for academic affairs should be called upon to be the interim president or the acting president for the institution. That has already been put in place. Facilities at a New Bastia High School, which you may not necessarily have at the current Bastia High School or at the old Bastia High School. There is a committee which has been put in place. That committee is responsible for providing a report which would detail some of the facilities that we would want to see at the new Bastia High School. So coming out of that report, we expect to see the number of classrooms which would be needed, and I personally would expect to see things such as a gymnasium, a cafeteria, library, a school which is friendly towards those who are differently abled, a school which is technology friendly, a school which has modern laboratory facilities, be it for the sciences, be it for home economics, be it for computer science. I did not indicate during my discussion with Mr. Williams, but I can say now that about 2 to 3 weeks ago, we launched our TVET program here in St. Kitts and Nevis. We expect to see more TVET programs being offered in the schools here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and so in the rebuilding of Bastia High School, we have to ensure that we have classroom space to accommodate the TVET programs which will be coming on stream at the different schools. To Carl Brown, who asked about the roads at Crabbill Extension, I can say to you that those roads will be done very shortly. We are currently in the process of putting together our housing program. That program should begin very soon, but as part of the program, there are also a number of roads infrastructure that we intend to put in place, and I have already indicated to the Minister for Housing, the Honorable Eugene Hamilton, that Crabbill must be given some priority in the placement of roads. The plans for a new pay and customs facility at Sandy Point, I can't say to you that there are any plans for such. In your question, you hinted to the fact that you have illegal weapons and drugs entering the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. What I can say though is that putting a new pay and customs facility in Sandy Point will not necessarily alleviate that particular problem or bring a decrease to it. The fact is that you have currently two main ports of entry, the airport and the seaport. Somehow guns continue to enter the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, whether it is through the ports or through the coastline. The government has taken a look at it. We have asked the necessary authorities to provide us with the cost of putting in a coastal radar system, so that when boats etc. are entering our waters, the radar system would be able to pick up those boats. The persons at the Coast Guard and all the necessary personnel will be alerted, and so they can put whatever they need to put in motion to ensure that they go and do the proper searches of these vessels as they enter into our waters, especially if they are entering illegally. So I think more importantly is to put the systems in place to ensure that we interject these illegal weapons which are entering the shores of St. Kitts and Nevis more so than a new pay and customs facility. I should add though that in making any determination as to the need for a pay and a customs facility, the government would have to look at what would that particular customs facility and that particular pier be doing? Is there enough business to support the need for a new pier and a customs facility in Sandy Point? So that would first have to be also determined before that decision is taken. Bastille High School, do we want to put it on the old site? There are concerns with that, in that there hasn't been any report to date which has indicated what is wrong with the Bastille High School. We have had several different possible reasons coming out of the reports that we have seen thus far. It is easy to say, well, do some excavation, remove the topsoil, and then build a new school. But after you would have done that and the problems resurface, what do? And again, we have to be careful, because building a new school, we are speaking of an investment of some $40 or so million. And at the end of the day, we want to ensure that that $40 million is $40 million well spent. To the gentleman who asks about the centralization of power and legalization of marijuana, to the best of my knowledge, on the issue of the legalization of marijuana, that is an issue which has been discussed at the CARICOM level, and the CARICOM put a committee in place to do the necessary studies so that whatever decision is taken would be sort of a harmonized decision, one which is done in unity with all of the different CARICOM members. Centralization of power. Now, when we speak about centralization of power, there is a cost to doing so. There must be an education process so that the people here in St. Kitts and Nevis understand what is centralization of power, and they can actively participate, but apart from participate, benefit from the process. So
I don't think he meant to say the centralization of power. It is a decentralization of power.
And thanks for the correction. In thinking about it, yes, the decentralization of power, and perhaps he's looking at local government, etc.
Local government,
which is what I was thinking. Okay, so there must be an education process so that persons understand it. Persons would know what the benefits are. Persons would know what to expect from the local government level up to the level of the federal government. There must be the necessary legislative support put in place, and I don't know if it would need constitutional amendment or simply having an act of parliament to bring it into being, so that if that is the choice of persons, then perhaps the discussion can be initiated, and then we make a determination as to whether the benefits outweigh the cost. We can look at what pertains in other Caribbean islands, make a determination as to how well it has been working or it hasn't been working, and make a determination as to whether or not it can be beneficial here in St. Kitts and Nevis. We must also take into consideration that we are relatively small with regards to our own population size, and that must also be a factor to be taken into consideration.
Well, we are now open to take a few more calls, and remember that the number to call is 465-2555. That's the local number, and the international, the overseas number is 1718-577-2916. We await your calls.